am the fire. I am burning brighter, roaring like a sun. And I am the one I've been waiting for.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl Jade Phoenix, and the color wheel is spinning. Say hi, ladies.
Hello, hello. So good to see you.
Hey. And if you can't tell, not only are we actually showing you our pretty faces,
Crazy.
we have a guest. That side. That side.
Oh
Hi.
my god, wow, I'm dyslexic.
Yeah, no,
No,
it's
it's okay.
It's mirrored.
That makes it even worse.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Just,
Anyway,
anyway.
so it's Jade, Lavender, and Scarlet, and we are joined by William Russell, who me and you actually met at Comic-Con and has been so patient with our insanity to finally get on the show. Hi.
Hello. No problem. Thank you guys for having me. It was awesome meeting you guys at New York Comic Con.
Hell yeah. Scarlet unfortunately sat that one out.
Yeah, I was not at New York Comic Con. But it's nice to meet you. Like,
Nice to
not
meet
in
you.
person, like through the
We
ether
meet you.
of the internet.
The magical internet.
Gotta love the
capabilities.
internet.
Exactly. We love the nest. The nest is a good place to
When it's
converge.
not being annoying with
True.
its technological difficulties.
And I mean, in a
Real.
way, you technically met William because we've been posting all about William on our social media
For
any
several
of
weeks
us
now.
who have any of y'all that
Yeah,
have been
yeah.
checking that out. And a fun little art piece of William's.
Oh yeah, I have the crow hanging up in my living room.
Ah,
And
very cool.
In the
Very
place of
cool.
honor, right next to my Frankenhooker print. I have
Hey,
like Frankenhooker from the main actors in it.
yep. Yeah,
Your print went right
right
next to it.
Awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying them.
Yeah, The Crow is my favorite like piece of media
Ever.
like the comic book, the movie, the fucking soundtrack, like all of it. I love it. I'm obsessed.
It's true.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. That was an incredible. I mean, it was a groundbreaking book in general. It was something that you really hadn't seen before, and James O'Barr did a great job with the book and everything. And then of course the movie with Brandon Lee. That's just.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, that was
Oh,
a
yeah.
whole other ball game.
Maybe I have
Um,
pictures up here.
Yeah, no, like
Mm,
I met James O'Barr once, about 5 years ago. Yeah,
no.
he's such a like low key dude.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
He's
for real, for real.
he can be a bit interesting sometimes. So, but
Yeah.
he's a nice guy though, or at least my
Yeah.
experiences have been that way.
Yeah, like I had a very good experience with him. Some people have said otherwise, but like, I think I was also just like, and I'm dressed as the Crow, and he seemed
Yeah.
to get a kick out of it.
Honestly, I've never had the pleasure of meeting him, but who knows?
Yeah.
We go to cons enough, maybe.
Yeah, he was doing
Yeah.
a bunch of smaller ones a few years ago, so he
Yeah.
might start popping back up again.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
very
he
sad
does-
that I couldn't be in Michigan this past, was it last weekend? It was last weekend.
Last weekend.
Because Robert Englund was
Uh.
in Michigan for a con, and my best friend slash platonic wife happened to go. And they capped his line, even though they had already bought the autograph and stuff, so they had to get a whole refund. It was a whole big scene.
my
Oh,
God.
dang.
It was literally the only reason why she went.
That's
Oh,
ridiculous.
damn.
So sad.
Yeah, I mean, the sad thing.
You were just at a con, right?
Do what?
You just came back from a con in Ohio, correct?
Yeah, I was in Akron. I did Akron Comic Con. They brought me in as a guest artist, so huge thank you to them for that. And it was a good con. They had a really good turnout. It's a small con, and a lot of artists will kind of avoid them because, I mean, small cons can be a gamble, especially when you're traveling that far.
Oh, we know.
But
Oh, yeah.
a lot of that also falls onto the artists and creators and stuff to create that fan base and be more engaging with their fans and stuff like that. So you create those relationships to where those people that live in those areas will come out and see you. So I mean, even for that being a small con, I don't know their exact numbers they did on Saturday, but I mean, there was 60 plus people that came out to see me at that show. So even as an up and comer, I've been doing this 6 years professionally, and you still have a good following as long as you create those relationships, and be a bit more engaging. And so I don't mind taking the gamble or the risk to go to those smaller cons and stuff like that. I like them. You get a lot more personal time with fans without everything being so rushed like it is for New York or MegaCon or Fan Expo Dallas and so on, or C2E2. So you definitely get a bit more of that personal time with fans, which is awesome.
Totally agree. We actually are big fans of the smaller cons. Like we attend large cons, but we
Right.
will work a booth or we'll have a panel at smaller cons because
Yeah.
we enjoy building that relationship. In fact, actually, the weekend that I was at Anime NYC, these two went up to Hudson Valley Horror Fest
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
hosted a whole panel. And
Nice.
what was your topic?
Oh yeah, we did a brief history of the slasher movie genre. If you couldn't tell, I like my slashers,
A little bit.
and I did it dressed as a sexy ghost face because why wouldn't you?
There
Were you
go.
Patrick Bateman?
I was Patrick Bateman.
Patrick Bateman.
Patrick Bateman is my
Ah.
all-time favorite, so
Very
I had
cool.
to.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
I-
totally
I'm
feel
gonna
you
try to do
on
more.
the small con.
I mean, even
Yeah, I do.
as
That's-
like
I
a
agree.
con goer at small cons, it's really fun. Like, even some of the more like higher profile people that go.
Speak up.
Sorry, even some of the more like higher profile people that go to like these smaller conventions, you can actually like talk to them and
Yeah.
build that, like build a relationship or like have a meaningful conversation instead of like a hi, here's your signature, okay, bye.
Kind of like how we
Yeah,
were able to
right.
do with you, even though it was New York City Comic Con.
Yeah. Well, to be
Which,
fair,
yeah.
I'm a little different than a lot of artists. Even though that's New York Comic Con and it's packed and my table's busy, when I have people that want to take the time, whether they're fans or whether they're podcasters, whatever the case may be, if they take the time to stop at my table, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and I'm going to engage with them. I cap my per day commission list. So I'm not working the entire time I'm there with my face buried in artwork. So I can take a little bit longer to chat with fans and I can take a little bit longer to chat with interviewers and stuff like that. And sadly, a lot of artists don't do that. They try to maximize the amount of money making potential they can for that show. So I'll do pre-show commission lists a couple weeks before an event. That helps me not do as much stuff at the show. And then at the show, I cap it at like 5 sketches per day. And where most artists are taking however many sketches will come across their table. Now, do I lose money in that situation doing that? Of course I do. But I give them the option where they can get on the commission list and I can take it back home with me, knock it out in a couple of days. I'm at home and then I send it out to them. So they're not waiting forever to get something. So they do have that advantage also, or that ability. And a lot of people take that. But by doing it, though, it does allow me to have a much deeper conversation with fans or podcasters and stuff like that. And the way I look at it, I've said this on my live shows plenty of times, I'm there to put on a show. I'm a streetwalker wearing my pretty little red dress, and I'm there to talk to every John that comes by my corner. And
So in
I think
other words,
I love it.
and in other words, whenever you come on the show, we should just start playing Lady in Red.
Yeah, I think so.
There you
I
go.
think
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of artists, sadly, artists and creators and actors and so on, anyone with a platform, I do think they've kind of lost, some of them have lost that mentality that fans come first.
Yeah,
So-
and I think that's what's so important, especially as you've been building your own independent comic series. Being able to build those relationships helps you connect on that level and create your own fan base.
Agreed. Like, I mean, we've been reading Psycho Sal and we are absolutely in love with it.
It is
Like,
so fun.
it is such a wild ride.
Good,
Like,
I'm glad. That's the
Psycho
whole
Sal is
point.
I gotta lend you the book.
Okay.
We
because
really like them.
our Scarlet is the only one that hasn't been able to read it. And
I failed.
yeah. Could you give her a synopsis? Like, so that
Yeah,
way
sure.
her and I don't spoil it.
And send me after the show. Did you guys pick up all 6 copies of that's out right now, or
I
did you just
think
get the
we
first?
only picked up the first 2.
Okay, send me
We
a
picked
PM after the show and remind me, and I'll ship you guys out the missing books so you can get caught up.
Hell yeah.
Because
And
issue number
you're-
7 Yeah,
Yeah.
issue number 7 will go to print in about a week or so. So I'll have
Yeah,
issue
that was
number
on your
7.
Kickstarter, correct?
Yep, it wrapped up on Halloween night.
Nice.
But yeah, so for those that don't know, Psycho Sal is my creator-owned comic, and it's about a serial killer in New Orleans in the 1980s. And we kind of broke
Look at the smile.
Yep. Yeah, if you're a fan of slashers, you're going to dig Psycho Sal, because it's a really good mixture of horror and psychological terror. We wanted to kind of break the mold a little bit of way horror's kind of been handled lately. I personally feel there's too much comedy and too much levity in horror movies these days, for the most part. So we wanted to go back to where the bad guy's the bad guy. You're rooting for the good guys to catch him. And we completely changed how we approach the writing of it. Because some people are kind of, they're thrown off with the fact that it's only 9 issues, which is an odd kind of way to do a comic. But the reason for that is it's about perspectives. So the first 3 books are all being told from the lead FBI agent's perspective. And when we get to books 4, 5, and 6, we actually change the perspective to one of the victims. And now you're seeing and experiencing everything through her eyes. Then when we get to 7 through 9, we change it on the viewer or the reader again. Now you're seeing everything through Psycho Sal's eyes. And he's not cracking jokes. There's no one-liners or levity. Think like old school Hitchcock. It starts applying the pressure and it just keeps going till the last page of the last book. It's meant to make you uncomfortable. It's meant to make you scared again. And so far, it's working. Fans are eating it up. Issue number 1 has been out 2 years now. And for a horror comic in the comic world, it's doing extremely well. We just passed of just cover A of issue number 1. We just passed 1,000 printed and sold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
For a horror comic?
For a horror comic.
That's
That's
impressive.
really fucking awesome.
Because horror comics, like,
It's a tough market.
they are so niche that,
Yep.
like, you have to be a true horror buff to actually, like, read
Yeah.
horror comics and enjoy it to a point. Hello, dog. To enjoy it to a point where you actually want to continue reading the
Yeah.
story.
Exactly.
As opposed to like our typical superheroes that like,
Yeah.
oh, what kind of battle are they getting in today?
Right.
Kind of crap.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I know all about that.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah,
okay, but like
it's so
I'm
hard.
honestly like so sold on the premise of this. Like it tickles my like it tickles the comic book itch. I think my husband would kill me if I brought any more comic books into the house.
But it's Psycho Sal,
It's
so
Psycho
it's fine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
It tickles the true crime itch that I have.
She
Like
does.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a true crime nut. Me too.
I-
Too much.
Why don't Lavender, why don't you tell him what you were like watching last night in like mental prep for today?
A lot of Law and Order SVU.
Ah,
I was like getting ready. I was like, I can't go full horror because I do need to get up to work, but I need to like feel that intensity and that tracking down. So I was like, hello, Miss Olivia Benson. Nice to see you today. I mean,
Love it.
that would be a really fucked up episode of SVU if Psycho Sal was on it.
I think so.
I think it would be insane. I mean, I would pay to see it, but it would
Yeah,
be
it's-
insane.
and it's one of those, with the writing that we did, like once you read all the books and you get caught up, you'll really see what we're talking about in the sense that the way the book is written, it really lends itself to TV.
Oh,
So, and right
100%.
now, all the app services, they're shopping horror right now. Horror has made a big blow up over the last like 5 or 6 years, especially. So they're definitely realizing, even in comics world, DC and Marvel and Image Comics, they realize that horror is actually doing well and selling stories. Because with Psycho Sal, we even broke the format on how serial killers work. Normally serial killers fit into a profile. They hunt a certain way. They go after certain types of people, things like that. If you're male, and the killer's going after women, you're safe, or vice versa. If you're blondes and he's going after brunettes, the blondes are, safe. So we wanted to even break that because we didn't want anybody being safe. I think too many people today live in this delusional little bubble that they're safe no matter what. I mean, we see it all the time. And so we broke that. Like when you read the first book, there's already been 4 murders, and it's been 2 males and 2 females. And so Psycho Sal doesn't care anything about any of that. It's just whatever catches his eye, and in my opinion, when it's something like that and the police can't catch him, there's no evidence leading them in any certain direction, there's no pattern to help them narrow down the searching or setting traps, etc. I think that makes for a way more terrifying thing. And then you add on the fact that we don't do a lot of in your face hack and slash or blood and guts or anything like that. A lot of the stuff that happens, a good bit of it happens off screen. So we want your imagination exactly to fill in the blanks. So yeah, we're having a blast
Michael
with it.
Myers in a way.
A little bit.
Yeah, in a way, that would probably be the closest I would compare him to out of everyone. Because like I said, you're not getting a lot of levity or anything. There's no sob backstory like Jason for you to kind of feel bad about. And the other thing is also, that separates itself, from something like Jason. Normally with like the Friday the 13th movies and stuff, it's real easy to side with him because of his backstory. And then, of course, all the cliches that he's killing in the movies are people we couldn't stand in school anyway.
Yeah,
We were
like,
always,
"Yeah,
Already. Oh, they
Yeah,
deserve that. Bye.
yeah, exactly. We were always the target of their bullying or their harassment. So you don't have any of that. The characters in the book, you get very attached to them. So we kind of, added that bit of uniqueness to it too.
I love that.
Like you can truly be scared in that avenue. And I think what's really fun about Psycho Sal too is the levity you brought to some of your additional cover art. Like one of my favorites is the Winnie the Pooh version of Psycho Sal.
Yeah.
I need
Oh
that
yeah,
cover.
Psycho
I
Poo.
love it. I'm a big Winnie the Pooh fan, so I thought it was hysterical.
Lavender is very, very much into Winnie the Pooh.
So I thought it was so funny. And I think that's what's fun about, I feel like you as the creator also have a sense of levity in your own humor because you're like, I have no humor in here. Sal is not humorous, but me, the artist, I've got some humor. I can make this happen.
Yeah.
And I find that so fun. And the nuggets
Oh,
cover
Lacey.
you're telling me about, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lacey Kruger's cover. She did a cover on issue number 7, and it being in the 80s, she did this throwback to those 80s commercials, especially around Halloween, where the Nuggets were dressed up as Dracula and stuff like that, and for their little commercials. Yeah, she killed it on that cover. It's such a great cover.
Oh, we love that. Like honestly, like we're also very particular
Yes.
about a lot of things. Like
Yes.
let's call a spade
Very.
a spade here. We are super particular about. Oh, look at that. What did I do? What?
I'm gone.
You.
I'm gone.
Yeah, there's
Like,
my big head.
Here's an example of some of your artwork.
Yeah, I did. I've
I'm
done
taking
about.
over Will's soul here. I'm like,
You
Yeah,
are.
there you go.
You're in him. Oh, it's kind of creepy.
it's kind of
Yeah.
funny. I kind of love it.
It's kind of fun. But either way, okay, I was trying to share the fucking artwork, but
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been doing this professionally for 6 years. In that time frame, I've got 114 published covers under my belt.
Wow.
I've done about 6 or 7 covers for Image Comics, Department of Truth, Stray Dogs, Haha, Ice Cream Man, and more. I just wrapped up a new cover for Image Comics for their book called Little Devils. So that will actually go up for pre-sale here in a few weeks. And I've done covers for Dynamite Comics with books like Vampirella, Red Sonja, Purgatory, and a few others. I just
Vampirella is
did.
hot.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Vampirella's a great character. And
Yeah,
then
awesome.
I just
Vampirella
did a
and
cover.
Sonia will have to join my collection.
Yes.
I
Ah,
inherited a very big comic book collection with it's my dad. And my dad was really into Red Sonja.
It very
It was a
much
good book.
is.
I mean,
It's
it was a good book. I mean, it was a character that, like, if you've ever read any of the books, like, it wasn't a character that was super sexualized or anything like that. She was even though she was gorgeous and the way they drawn her and everything, she was a legit badass. The same thing for Vampirella. Even though with as skimpy as a costume you could possibly probably put on someone,
Yeah.
they still handled her with that badassery, you know. So that, and then of course I just got to do a cover for Coffin Comics for Lady Death, and then that's
I have that.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
waiting for
You
it to
actually
come back.
grabbed one of the
Yeah.
artist proofs.
I did.
Yeah, she got one of
And
the
I
books that there's
actually-
only
I'm
5
waiting-
in the world.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for them to. I got it immediately graded.
nice.
And it was witnessed the whole 9 because
Yep.
he signed it. William signed it for me, and there was a little confusion because they didn't understand what it was that I was getting graded until we explained it to them. Like, no, there are only 5 of these in the
Yeah.
entire world.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that was an
So-
actual artist proof.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that once they had that, they were like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah,
So that
don't drop that
literally
book.
is one of my personal jewels
Oh yeah.
in my collection now.
Oh yeah.
So
Awesome, I'm
screw
glad.
you, motherfuckers! I got one of 5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got one of those books left, and I think I'm going to do a remark on it, sign it, send it in to CGC to get it slabbed, and then I'm probably going to do a raffle or something to my fans and give them a chance to win it. So
That is true. You have multiple. You have like you have your Instagram, but you have a group on Facebook that we're a part of. That where you make your announcements and stuff. Like that's where we saw all the stuff for your Kickstarter. And like I love the fact that you are super interactive with all your fans. Like you're not just like that artist that it's like, oh yeah, okay, and then just go away and never talk to anybody. I love that
Yeah.
you're so like with your people. Does that make sense?
thank you. I appreciate it. I like I said earlier.
No, exactly. And I've got to say, William, especially because you come from that background of wanting to be very involved with your fans, would you say that working more with independent comics has given you the ability to do that versus when you did some cover work for more well-known comic areas?
Right. I mean, it's kind of a two-way street on it that definitely runs parallel. Doing the covers for Image Comics, Dynamite, Coffin Comics, etc. Those all lead into Marvel covers and DC covers
Right.
eventually, and those are the ones that will get you a bit more recognition than some of the indie books. But it's kind of it's kind of hard to ignore it when you're dumping as many covers as I'm putting out. You're going to kind of get seen anyway, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
You sacrifice a lot of time and energy to do it, but I think the one gets you a bit more recognition overall, but then the other I think gets you that more personal connection with a lot of fans dealing with the indie books, because people who buy indie, they're buying it solely to read, or they're
Yeah.
buying it solely to support you. And and not just chasing the next Marvel cover or
Exactly.
chasing the next DC cover or Image cover to put in their collection that they'll never probably look at again. So yeah, I think it's definitely useful for both, but I do think the indie gets a bit more of that personal connection, especially when you have your own IP and people are showing up for that book. I definitely think that lends to a way more personal connection.
So another question I have is, do you believe that comic art has taken over the comic industry?
You talking about with the whole variants and all that stuff with all the different covers?
And what would you feel? And I also want to know like what's more important to you, like the art or the story behind the art?
Yeah. I mean that one can be definitely tricky. So let's talk about the variants first, because
sure.
there's a lot of collectors out there that bitch and complain about variants and there's too many, and this is my opinion on it. If you don't like it, don't buy it.
Yeah,
Facts.
100%.
That's
It's not
that's
for
like the number one thing you need to understand. If you don't like it, don't buy it. Don't rag someone else because they want to collect it. Don't pick on other people. Don't make posts crying about it. If you don't like it, just don't buy it, because the variants, they do not devalue the cover A's and all this that come out for companies, because you have the cover A that comes out for a company, and then you have all these variants from all these other retailers and stuff.
Yeah.
None of that hinders the value of your cover A that you may have purchased. So
Right.
leave it alone. And then on the other, the variant world allows all these retailers to tap into artists who are not signed with Marvel or DC or Image, and bring those artists on at a more affordable rate, and be able to give up and comers an opportunity to get mainstream titles under their belt. So it's a win-win for the industry, because it gives artists a chance to do stuff that maybe the big companies themselves aren't paying any attention to.
Oh, wow.
Out of 114 published covers in 6 years, there's only about, probably, I don't know, maybe not even a half of that is mainstream companies. The others all indie. So
Wow.
so it's definitely helped, but it's like I said, it's one of those things. I don't think it hinders anything. I think if anything, it opens it up for more people to have opportunities they may have not would have gotten. And then on the second part, what was your second question? I'm sorry.
What matters more to you, the
Okay.
artwork or the story behind the art?
That one's a tricky one, because the artwork on the cover is what makes you pick the book up to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's shitty artwork, most time you're going to overlook it, unless someone's told you to go try it. So I think the cover art is super important, to get someone to pick the books up off the shelf or off your website, whatever. But that interior art, in my personal opinion, needs to be up to a certain level of quality, so you can concentrate on the writing. And then, because the writing is what's going to have you back for issue number 2 or issue number 3 and so on. So the writing's just as important, and the interior art, it plays its part also. I know I've personally picked up books before because I liked the cover, and I was like, oh, I'll give this book a chance. And then I look in it, and I can hardly finish reading the book because the artwork is so low quality, it constantly pulls me out of the story.
I've
So-
had that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things you got to be really mindful of. And in the indie world, that can be hard to do, because you have a lot of people that think they should be paid up here when their quality's down here, because they
Yeah.
see what other people are making and they think they're owed the same thing. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You got to pay your dues. So I think it's super important. I think the interior art has to be to a certain level, just to keep the reader engaged, so they don't constantly pull themselves out with all these weird mistakes and bad art and stuff like that, just because you want to be cheap and not pay someone pay someone to do quality work.
Right, because like to agree with you, I've picked up so many books where I'm like, oh, I love this cover. This is absolutely gorgeous. And then I pick it up and I'm like reading it. I'm like, this story is caca. Like,
Yeah.
Like, why am I going to
Oh,
keep
yeah.
reading?
like, okay, cool. You had a great cover and that what drew my eye, but inside is just trash. I might as well just have the art print instead of the book.
Yep. And it's weird too, because I've sat in Comic-Con sitting next to another creator or something, and we're talking about our IPs. He's got a book he creates. And now the sad thing is I knew going into this with a horror as my first IP, I knew it was going to be a tough sale. I knew it was going to be a smaller niche market. Horror has always been that way. So I knew I was fighting an uphill battle from the get-go. And I do Psycho Sal a little different. By the time we activate the Kickstarter for fans to buy and recoup money, I've already paid for my book to be creative. I've already spent about almost $5,000 per book out of my own pocket to have it
Wow.
completely done. So when we turn the Kickstarter on, it's 99% complete. All we're doing is some edits and some lettering, and that's it. It's done. We're just
That's
using the
amazing,
Kickstarter
though.
Yeah.
to recoup. Well, I didn't want to be in that world of where you do 1 to 2 books a year. Psycho Sal is one of the fastest producing indie books on the market. We're dropping a book to fans about every 2.5, 3 months. where everyone
Wow.
else is taking one book a year, two books a year to get stuff done. But I sat next to this guy and he was talking about his IP because, again, I knew mine was going to be a tough market. And he's doing a book that is TNA, borderline hustler, and he'll do $30,000, $40,000 Kickstarters. And I've sat there and heard him say, my book is trash. It's shit. The story sucks. If it weren't for the nudity and everything else, my book wouldn't sell. And that's
Wow.
weird to me that you would not only brag about that, but the fact that you would put it out there. Like, I get we all want to make money off our IPs. And I don't have an issue with sex or anything like that. It's sales. I don't blame anybody for playing the game. Tons of people in my world, of the art world, they play the game. And if I was equipped right, I'd play the game right along with them. But to sit back and put out poor quality and then want people to pay you for it, I
And
can't wrap
brag
my head
about
around
it.
that. Yeah, and then brag about it. It's weird.
Yeah.
Funny.
That's
Sorry.
like why, because again, we're technically an indie podcast. We're very
Right.
much we're very crazy about our quality, about what we put out,
Yep.
about what we speak on, where
Yep.
we go, the interviews that we do. Like,
Yep.
that's why, like, we were having such trouble getting this interview to actually work because, like I said, I am very, ask them, I'm a slave driver. I'm a fucking crazy person.
You were
I am
not
too.
her thing.
I need
I am too. It has to be on a certain
Every-
level of
Every
quality.
artist has to be a little crazy. You
I
know what I
mean,
mean? Because we care about the craft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like the Phoenix Gate is my baby. Like I
Yeah.
created the Phoenix Gate. Like I guess you could say that it's my IP. You know, like I created this 7 years ago. She's been through a lot. This podcast,
Yeah.
and like, it's just for me, it's an unending. Just I love doing this. I love making content. I love connecting with people like you and our fans and everything like that. Like I love this. Like this is what I want to do, and I drag them along with me because they got bit by the bug. I showed them. I was like, "Hey, you want to see something fun?" And the next thing you know, it's like, "Oh, we're in. Let's do this." Because I get it with the need to just want to make money. Because trust me, we're three very attractive women. All we need to do is show a little skin, and people will probably be like, "Oh my God, I want to listen to these podcast girls," even though we don't care what they say. And I'm
Yep.
just like, no, I'd rather you actually listen to what's coming
Yeah.
out of what we're talking about, because we put extensive research into every single episode we do, as I'm sure you do with every single book that you create. So it's like we completely get it. Like,
Yeah, you have to take pride in what you do.
yeah.
You have to.
Exactly.
It can't just be about the game all the time. Like, I mean, you got to take pride, and when you take pride in what you do and you put out a legit product, whether it's a podcast or whether it's a comic or whatever the case, when you put out the quality, you get the fans. You're going to get the fans as long as you're willing to do the work and treat them accordingly. You're going to
hell
get them. And those are going to be those ride or dies. That's the fans you want.
It's
And
true.
and it's crazy, man. The art industry is weird sometimes, and I mean the same applies to anything else on social media. You got to take pride in what you do. You got to appreciate the people who put you where you are. Like I said, the fans are what makes all of this work.
Oh, for sure.
Treating them secondhand or however dismissive and things that I've seen some people do, it's ridiculous. I can walk away tomorrow and the machine keeps going. Jim Lee could walk away tomorrow and comics won't miss a beat.
Nope.
But the fans stop. No more Comic-Cons, no more books, no more art commissions, no more working in this industry. And the same goes to podcasts. So, the same thing applies there. You got to treat your fans, proper. For sure.
Oh,
and I got to give you guys credit. Like, when you guys came up to me and talked to me, and I've been interviewed a bunch of times at cons, and you guys were super professional, super polite, super friendly. You know, even when I had fans coming up, you guys were engaging with them too, which is very cool. You know, you're giving them your opinion of things about what's on my table that you had already been looking at, and that's awesome. You weren't being snobby, you weren't being, you know, impatient or anything like that. And then, of course, you know, the amount of research you guys did, asking me questions, you know, trying to work out the dates and things like that, and not willing to put up a, you know, a half-assed podcast with internet connection issues and things like that. So you know, that says a lot about how you guys are as a professional in the podcasting. So, you know, and for those that don't know, I've got my own show that I used to do that we've kind of do every once in a while called Creators Corner. At some time, I'll sit down with you guys and we'll bring you on to my podcast with Creators Corner, and we'll talk about your journey and what you guys do with your podcast channel and stuff like that. Because I share my platform with all types of people, from creators to artists to writers to podcasters to actors and so on. So we'll do that at some point also.
Oh,
But
we would
That
love
would be
that.
awesome.
Yeah, we
down.
actually do the
We're
same
down.
thing where it's like artists, musicians, creators of all types we love to collaborate with. We're actually part of a new network that's going to be coming out, debuting this January. It's called Herd TV. And thanks to our all of the people that we met through there, we actually got to go to our friend Destiny's EP release party. And this girl, wow, she can sing. Like, holy crap. Think like old school R&B style belting kind of singing. And as you could tell, that's not exactly our genre. We're not,
Yeah.
that's not what we're going to heavy hardcore listen to, but we still support all other artists on this show. Like, because
Good.
everybody has a passion. And honestly, as long as you're not a douche nozzle, we're going to support you in your
Yeah.
passion. Like, that's
Yep.
just what the Phoenix Gate does.
Yeah.
What
That's
we always
awesome.
have done. Because in all honesty, it's like artist supporting artists is a thing. Because
Oh, 100%.
Could be.
if you can't sit there and shout out your friends as well as your fellow colleagues, then you're a hater and you should not be in this business at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a personal opinion, though.
And I've got to say too, there's especially a great levity in things that have created such community. Because we actually, when we're at Hudson Valley Horror Fest, we got to talk to the cast from Fright Night, and they were just so excited. Like I admittedly was very nervous to ask their handler. Like I thought they'd be a little diva-ish. Like I didn't know what to expect.
I'm usually the one that goes up and does that.
Human beings, like, oh my gosh, they were absolutely wonderful. They were like, let's find a place with wonderful light so that we look good. And they took all this time to answer questions because they're just passionate about this film that they were in like 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we actually got to meet one of the actors who played Leatherface, and he was so excited. Like he sat down with us for like 15 minutes just to talk about getting to be Leatherface and
The
how much that
original
meant to
Leatherface.
him. So it's
Yeah.
very cool to be able to make those connections through art. And I've got to say, one of the things that I really like about your art too, William, is it's very unique, and it also creates its own community in an already niche community. Because you don't get a lot of Hitchcock style writing anymore. That's almost considered
sorry.
like extinct at this point.
Yeah.
So that's what's so cool, I think, about Psycho Sal, because I'm a huge literary nerd. I'm a huge, like, I will sit and dissect a movie as if my life depends on it.
This is our
Oh.
theater nerd. Like,
Yeah.
this is our theater nerd. This is our horror nerd. And I'm
Wow.
just a jack of all trades.
And that's so
Yeah.
fun about your books, William. Like, they're horror books, but they read like a play. And is that something that you thought about when you were writing Psycho Sal, or did it just come to you that way?
Yeah, I knew, you know, Cycle Style's been on my plate for a couple years now, and I knew, or a few years now rather. I knew I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to do superheroes. I didn't want to do TNA. I didn't really want to do action. You know, horror. I've got tons of horror tats all over me, so I'm a big horror nut.
No,
So,
I never know, man. Never.
yeah.
No, could never tell.
But so I knew, and my 4 daughters love horror, so I knew that's where I wanted to go first, even though I knew it would be an uphill battle. So you know, in the story itself, I have to give credit to my co-writers with it, because I'm not a writer per se. So all of my, you know, imagination and what I needed to happen in the story just goes into these jumble of notes. So I wrote like 10 or 12 pages of notes for like Psycho-Sal #1. And I knew overall what I needed to happen. I knew how I needed it written. And I knew what I wanted to take place to be different. And so, I brought Chris Hayes on, who's an incredibly talented horror writer. He also runs Charter Comics, where Psycho-Sal is published through. And so I went to Chris, told him my plan, told him what wanted to do, and he was like, "Hell yeah, I'm on board." And so I gave him, I wrote down these stacks of notes for each book. And I knew I wanted to do the perspective change, and I gave that to Chris, and he took all my notes for 1 through 3, and he converted all that into scripts for me and connected all the dots. So the real writing genius behind the way the story flows and everything is definitely Chris. Like I said, Chris Hayes did an incredible job with my notes. And then, we brought on, when we changed the perspective to Tony, the young female, in 4, 5, and 6, I brought on Lori Calcaterra, who's another very talented writer. And she wrote the victim's perspective for me, with all my notes and everything for each one of those books, because we really, really wanted that to feel like it's a truly different perspective. And of course, Lori's written issue #7 for me, and Chris is coming on. He's going to write issue #8, and then we're going to bounce back to Lori, who's going to wrap it up with issue #7. I mean, issue #9. And so yeah, they're the ones that really connected all the dots. Now I've got a short story book that's coming out soon that I've been working on for about 5 months, and what little free time I get. That one is going to be, what did I give? I'm so sorry. Like, my memory is terrible these days. So like that one is Kurt's.
We are ADHD gremlins.
Oh,
we don't
my memory's so bad. But so
Memory,
I
we
do
don't
have
work.
one.
Object permeance?
What?
Exactly. So I finally do have a one-shot comic coming that is 100% fully written by me. And
wow.
that one's got 2 of my daughters in it, and it's about them being in a cabin in Virginia when a werewolf attacks. So that one's called Cursed Moonlight. And
Was that the drawing that I saw on your page? The little mock-up that you're doing?
Yep,
Oh,
that one.
okay.
So
And then,
much.
of course, now later this year, the first part of next year, we'll be debuting what we believe is going to be the largest indie book on the market with 30 issues. And that's Cycle of the Blood Moon. Now that's going to be the big one. That one's going to be a more fantasy style thing, but it is dealing with all the things that go bump in the night. So we've got vampires, we've got werewolves, lycans, demons, angels, witches. The witch Delphine, who is an actual witch in New Orleans in the early 1800s, will actually be in the book also. So that one, that's the one everybody's really excited about, because that's a much broader.
That's really cool. Like, I do want to pick that one up.
Is that also going to be through Charter Comics?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've got the script written for Cursed Moonlight, that one-shot comic. That one will actually start being created here soon. So it'll be a little break in between Psycho-Sal, and we'll jump over to that, knock that out, and then we'll jump back over to Cycle of Blood Moon. But yeah, that's the one everybody's really.
Very needy orange. Who
Oh,
wants to be a part
So
of the
cute.
cast.
I love him.
This is Rocky Meowboa.
oh
He
my
had
Lord.
to come and inspect. Okay.
Yes.
That works out good. I'm a cat person, so.
Yeah,
We are cat.
we are
We are
cat
cat
people.
We have pod kitties. We talk about our
that
pod
was
kitties
one of
all the
them.
time.
That was one of them. But
So-
I don't know if you heard his soft little meows while we were talking. But I was like, okay, let me give you some attention. And then he likes to see when I'm working on the computer, especially, he loves to just dial in and see what I'm
Yeah.
doing. And if I'm talking to someone on the computer, he's just right there. So
He
Yeah.
must know.
he must know whom I speak with. So that was Rocky.
You got to
And-
approve the conversation,
yeah.
So the con you guys just did, what was the name of that one again? The
Hudson
horror one?
Valley Horror.
Okay, I'll have to keep in mind
You
that one
should
'cause
really come up. I think
Yeah.
it was their first year.
It was their first
Their
year.
first year ever. You guys went, so you talk about it. 'Cause
Oh,
I was at Anime
absolutely.
NYC, so please.
Honestly, it was absolutely fantastic. Scarlett actually knows the showrunner personally.
apparently he's not going to be running it next
Oh
year.
no!
I think the guy that he's passing it off to is, I think I know which guy he's passing it off to. I don't know for sure. I'm going to gently try to confirm it with him.
Fair.
We're definitely going back.
Yeah,
we're going back.
We definitely want
Where
to go
was
back.
it?
We definitely want a booth.
It was in Hudson Valley, New York.
Yeah, Fishkill.
Oh, okay.
Fishkill, New York.
Fishkill, New York. So it's upstate. It's not the fun part of New York where the city is. Like, just we have to kind of like get a lot of people. They think New York and they think, oh, the city, and it's like plot twist. There's a lot more.
Yeah.
There's mountains and trees.
But yeah, we're
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
going back.
But I know
We're definitely going back, and if we get the information, we're definitely going to pass it on to you because
Yeah, for sure. Because I want to do more horror cons this coming year also, and like I said, because of Psycho Sal, because of Cursed Moonlight, and then and definitely Psycho Blood Moon. I definitely want to get into more of the horror cons in general.
Agreed.
Because usually I'm I'm tied up with comic cons, so
Yeah.
Yeah, for that Hudson Valley Horror, I think would be a really good fit for you. There are a couple others that I can pass along the information about that we've been talking about going to ourselves. But there are also a few that you might like because they actually do them all over. Is Monster Mania.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
They're pretty much a horror-based con, but I don't know how much longer they're going to be doing stuff because I heard rumors that they may be shutting down.
Oh, wow.
It's a rumor. Don't quote me on it.
See,
I don't know.
it's a scary thought
Oh,
because
the New Jersey Horror Fest and Chiller
Yeah.
is a big one.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about Chiller. That's one I
Oh, and Vampire Freaks. You would fit in with Vampire Freaks.
Dark Force Fest.
Dark Force.
This year,
okay,
there's
definitely
also
send me the
Connecticut Horror
information on
Con.
those.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely give you all the information. Like
Yeah.
there's Connecticut Horror Con, all sorts
Yeah.
of stuff that we personally we're gonna start going to because, like we said, our Scarlett is a huge horror buff.
Yes.
And we can't always just cater to me and Lavender's insanity.
That's not fair.
Yeah, the anime comic booky insanity. I mean, I have comic books. Don't get me wrong. I have like 25 boxes in my house right now.
Super
Thanks,
fair.
Dad.
But like
I learned more
I
about
want,
my father than I ever wanted to.
yeah, but I also like I am a big I want my partners here in crime to experience the joy of what they like. It's not always
Right.
just about like, the collective. It's about individuals on this show too.
Yeah.
So you do get a choice. You have a voice, Scarlett. Use it.
I
So
I
what's
think one of
what's
my
your
ones
favorite
is
horror?
radiating into the
Yeah.
void.
Is it
What is-
Ghostface? I was wondering what her favorite horror is. Is it actually Ghostface?
Scream is very high up there for me. It's easy. The thing is, I can never say I have like a dead set favorite because, like, aside from The Crow, is like my favorite piece of media ever because it is.
Yeah.
When it comes to horror, top three easily Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street. Plot. You're gonna notice a pattern there. Wes Craven, guy's a fucking
Yeah.
legend.
True.
And then I'm trying to think like my third one. It kind of fluctuates depending on if I want to go more slasher or if I want to go like little
Yeah.
something else. Hellraiser is always like a favorite for me because I do have a special effects background, like in special effects makeup and practical effects, and the effects makeup, especially on the Cenobites in those movies, like
Right.
especially the first two, fucking
Yeah.
phenomenal. And
Yeah.
like there's all right, if you haven't seen the first movie, where have you been? It's like 30 years old.
More than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, not a spoiler alert, but like there's this one scene where like Frank's body like grows from the house from a drop of blood, and
Yep.
that is like still one of the coolest fucking things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And that's all
Yeah,
practical, all real. There's no
yeah,
CGI
it's-
shit.
There's a lot. I mean, some of them are definitely hard to watch now, but there's a lot of great movies that came out. Mine bounced all over the place because the original Frankenstein, 1940s. That
Oh,
will
classic.
for sure.
that'll
a
always
classic.
be
Carla.
one of my number ones. But then I'll bounce all the way over to Lost Boys.
Oh,
I'm-
That's my personal favorite.
I love Lost Boys.
Lost Boys is probably my favorite vampire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't
it's-
talk
it's a
about
great-
we don't talk about Lavender's favorite vampire movie.
Uh-oh. Do
Look.
they sparkle?
They
Yeah, Here's the
do.
thing. I love the Twilight movies, but I love them because I understand that they're like not good.
They're so just
I-
terrible.
I enjoy them for the camp and the fact that the books are written so heavily to be like a campy 16-year-old girl. Like the
Oh,
reason
wow.
I liked it was because unfortunately I pointed at Bella and went, "That's me," which was the whole point of the book.
Yeah.
So
And-
I gotta
and-
say that. I do
and I'm
love
gonna
them,
say
but it's
this,
because I
that,
love the kid.
a lot of guys have probably tried to check my bro card, but I've per my daughters asking me to read it, I've read every single one of those books.
So
And,
So did I.
and I'm gonna say it right here, right now. Other than that one little thing about the sparkling, the books are very good.
Thank you. She's not a bad writer.
the lore,
For her first time writing,
the lore is very good.
It's
Yeah.
so fun.
It's just,
yeah,
it's just everything else is kind of just like, all right.
yeah, the movies, in my opinion, the movies they're bad.
They were nothing
They're
like the
nothing
books.
good.
But
There's
that
nothing-
happens almost on everyone. I mean, one of my favorite books is Stephen King's The Sale.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
And that movie is hot trash.
that was awful.
Well, I mean, so
Yeah.
was the made-for-TV movie It, but we still fucking love it. Like,
Yeah,
Like,
the
it was
main,
awful.
I have to give them,
Different.
I have to give them a little bit more credit on the made for TVs because those were stretched out over what 3 or 4 days, an hour episode a day or something. So they
Or
could
weeks.
fit a bit more in those. So they weren't too bad. And I mean, Tim Curry's just Tim Curry.
Oh yeah.
You know, there'll never be a bad thing with Tim Curry as far as I'm concerned.
no, never.
Him in Rocky Horror, him in
Oh.
Legend.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I
That-
love Rocky.
This year again, and to this day, Legend holds up 100% from
Oh,
the
for
make
sure.
to the photography. Everything about it was incredible. So, but yeah, so I mean, like I said, I've read that book, and I got to give the lady credit, for her first. I think that was her first novel.
It was.
It was.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all.
No.
And-
And I think her
yeah.
writing gets progressively better if you read her other stuff too.
Yeah.
Like The Host was actually a
I actually did
fantastic,
like The Host.
fantastic science fiction book.
I really did
It was
actually like
really
that book.
well done.
Even the movie wasn't terrible.
I didn't see the
Yeah,
movie.
I can't speak on it. I haven't read it or
I read the book.
watched it.
I read the book, and then when I saw that they made a movie about it, I was like, "Ugh, all right, let me give it a chance. Shockingly, they actually did follow the book a lot more hardcore than they did with the Twilight itself movies. And I think that a lot of it had to do is because Stephanie Meyer from the Twilight shit sat
Yeah.
there and was like, no, you're gonna do it this
This
way.
way.
Yeah, she had
Like-
a little more pull at that point.
Yeah. Plus, she actually has her own film company. A lot of people don't know that. She has a film company, Fickle Fish.
Oh, I did not know that.
So the show Austin Land that they had on, I think it was Apple TV, that's her show. That's from Fickle
Oh,
Fish. So she's
Yeah, so
actually,
I
I
gotta
personally
give her-
think she's a very underrated writer, but
And I have to give it, like, I didn't care for the movies, even though the person I was dating at that time was big into it also and wanted to go see the movies. So I went to see them because she wanted to go. But I do have to give them credit. That what, part one or part two of Dawn, when they
Oh,
did the
Breaking
little
Dawn.
quiz when you thought everybody was really dying and fighting, I was laughing my ass off in the theater because all these little girls were losing their ever loving mind when Carlo was his name Carlos? No, Carlisle. When he got his head ripped off, these girls were freaking out and screaming, and I was just laughing my ass off. I knew that it was going to be a twist. That weren't what that wasn't what they were going to do. So I figured it was going to be some kind of flash, kind of possible future or something. And of course, that's what it turned out to be.
It wasn't
But-
in the book either.
No, it wasn't.
No, it's what I'm saying.
So
That's
everyone
not in
was
the
like,
book.
What?
Yeah, that's not in the book at all.
Oh,
And the fact
Oh, it's
they
so
threw
funny.
that in there, I mean, it was just teens on top of teens just crying their eyes out and screaming.
Oh, I was
and,
dying laughing. I'm older
oh, I
than these,
was,
so
yeah, I was
I have
hilarious.
some years on them, and they were in middle school when that shit came out. I was already in college. So for me, I'm like, what the hell is all this fucking hype? What are we talking about here? And my friend's like, well, you're a vampire nut because I am. I'm the vampiric one. Like, Dracula was like my ultimate, and I'm talking
Right.
original Dracula, and
Oh,
also
yeah.
then
Yeah.
can we like just talk about fucking 1992's Dracula?
Bram
with-
Stoker's
yeah.
Dracula.
Yes, like every single form of Dracula, if it's been out, I've watched it or read it. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, like also we're talking about a bitch that played Vampire the Masquerade back when I was in
Oh.
high school
Yep.
and college, like
Yep.
fully into that kind of culture. And watching this and reading these books, I'm like, my soul, if I had one because I'm ginger, would hurt right now. Like,
Yeah.
oh, what am I watching? And so I would go to the theater because my friends and I would get super fucking stoned.
That's the only way to watch them.
We would get
Totally
super
do it.
fucking stoned and be like, oh, let's go watch Twilight, man. So we did, and we're in the theater. I'm hearing all these little girls go over this shit, and I'm just hysterical laughing.
Yeah.
When he stepped into the sunlight and sparkled, I'm like, Tinkerbell! Wow!
And you know,
My friends just died. To this day, I can't watch that scene and not die laughing. I just
yeah,
can't, because
you
it
can't
reminds
take
me
it-
of
it
how
doesn't work
I
with
was.
it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like one of the, I think the last movie we went to go see was The Breaking Dawn Part 2. We went to see it and we were on shrooms.
Oh my god.
We went on shrooms and I'm just sitting there going, wow, okay, maybe this is kind of fun. That's a big fucking dog.
I want
It was so bad.
I want to give them their props though
I need
for
to watch
Breaking
this
Dawn
film.
Part 1. I will say they did actually try to put some of the horror in the book in the movie.
So,
Yeah, a little
Because
bit.
the way that they actually did the effects to like break Kristen Stewart's back and have her like limply out and like
Yeah.
splayed all over them, it was actually very well done. I will
Yeah.
give them that. They actually created a full form practical effects version of Kristen Stewart that they would just rip apart.
Yeah,
Alright.
it's
So,
one,
I gotta
and that's
I
what
had
makes all of it
Twilight
great.
after them,
So
Fair.
Well,
I-
that's what makes all of it great is it's that book wasn't targeting me. It wasn't targeting people that grew up hardcore horror. It was targeting Team Jacob versus Team Edward, and that's what it did. And like I
you're wearing
said,
a sports shirt.
Yeah.
yeah, there you go. And so, it did what it's supposed to do. It created that
It did,
phenomenon. And whether some people want to admit to it or not, I guarantee you that book read to or led some of those young viewers into checking out other vampire movies, other werewolf movies, things like that. So I think, there's like a lot of people want to bash stuff that just because it's not their thing, they don't want it to exist. And that is such a strange way to look at things. There's art for all types of people. There's books, there's movies for all types, and not everything's going to be a home run, So I think I think a lot of people, no matter what they're a fandom of, they have to learn how to lock their inner fanboy or fangirl up and watch something with fresh eyes. You never know what actor might shock you. Look at Michael Keaton, who played Batman, who came from Mr. Mom and Gung Ho and all that. People were terrified when they found out. People threw a heart attack when they found out Bill Skarsgård was going to play Pennywise.
Oh, he's
And
so good.
I think he killed it.
Also,
Yeah, I think he did great. So it's good to be a fan of try to be a fan of the of the genres and try to step outside your comfort zone, everyone, and try every once in a while and try books you may not be familiar with. I mean, I've got people reading Psycho Sal now that aren't even horror fans. They gave it a try because they just wanted to check it out. And they can't do horror at all, and now they're reading Psycho Sal. So never be afraid to step out your comfort zone for sure.
It has the true crime element too. And since we're talking about movies, I've got to ask, if you had to pick an actor to play Psycho Sal, who would it be?
To be honest with you, especially since he's masked, I did a joke on April Fools, where I made a post that named certain actors playing certain roles, and James Wan was coming on to direct, and that was hilarious. The amount of people are like, "Oh my God!" They freaked out. But I had Alan, what's his name? Alan Richardson, the guy that plays Reacher.
Oh,
I had him. That's who I had picked to play Psycho Sal. He's 6'6", I think, and that's what Psycho Sal is. He's 6'6", right at 300 pounds. So I mean, he's a big dude. So I had Alan picked to play that.
Yeah, no, Alan Rickman. You know, and he's getting
Yep.
bigger, bro.
He's huge.
Oh yeah, he's huge. Yeah.
I mean, and considering the fact that he started in Blue Mountain State and he was a skinny little thing playing a quarterback.
And he was on an episode of Smallville as Aquaman one time.
Yeah.
And he was small in that too. Yeah, he blew up. So I had him
He
picked,
wasn't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In the Michael
Raphael.
Bay ones, he was Raphael.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
And so I
But
had
he
him
took
for that.
testosterone.
And
But
then
he fully admits that to get as large as he's gotten, he takes testosterone.
I mean, they're all on juice to a degree.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're all.
Hey, listen, man. If it works, it works.
hey, knock yourself out.
I would
It ain't
climb
no
that
different than all
motherfucker
this-
like a tree.
Girl, I'm gonna
Yeah.
invite you up for that one.
I should. All right, fine. You can take that one, and I keep Space Daddy.
Fair.
Fine.
And then I
we
had,
met at Contropolis recently. Scarlett and I met the actor that did Darth Vader in The Mandalorian
And Kenobi.
and Kenobi.
It was the fight scenes in Kenobi.
He was in the fight scene.
oh,
and
okay, cool.
when I tell you,
Oh yeah.
woo, like the things that I would do to that man. I'm just and the funny thing is this one points out to me, she goes, you know he was flirting with you, right? I'm like, no.
And I'm like,
Now you
yeah.
sound like me.
Like, stop it. No, because yes, daddy.
Yeah,
But
that
that's
one.
it.
That's
You can Preacher, I'll take Space Daddy, and we'll call it a day. Ooh, maybe they can trade off playing Psycho Sal. One's the stunt guy and the other one's the actor.
Oh, that's not
yeah,
a bad
there
idea.
you go. Yeah, it's and then I had what's his name? Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing the lead cop.
Oh,
Now that
Yeah,
is-
I'll have to try to find that post on Facebook and tag you guys in it. It was freaking hilarious. I mean, it was a legit, super exciting news. I can't believe this is happening. James Wan, this whole thing that it's coming to like one of the platforms or something, and it had these different actors.
you catfished us. How dare.
I love it.
Yeah, it was
but
big.
Jeffrey
Like
Dean
people were
Morgan would be a
freaking
good
out.
pick.
It was awesome. Then,
Dude,
but
as the
hey,
cop in
you never
Psycho Sal?
know.
Hell yeah.
you
Jeffrey
never
Dean
know.
Morgan is
Yeah, I think he could play. I think he could play the lead FBI agent great. And I think the girl I picked to play Sarah, the other lead FBI agent, I think it was the young lady who played in Ready or Not. I think it may have been her.
Oh my gosh.
Tomorrow
Yeah.
It was
evening.
either her or the one that just played in that movie as Furiosa. I can't remember which one it was.
Oh,
Anya
I think it was the one from Ready or Not.
Anya
though. I'm pretty
Taylor
sure it was.
Joy. She was also in The Menu.
Oh, so
Oh,
good.
she was great.
Oh, did you watch The Menu?
Oh yeah, that's a good movie. That's a
That's
good one.
that's psychological horror.
Yeah.
I
that was a
love
great
psychological
movie.
horror. Like
Yeah,
that.
if you haven't watched that, you definitely need to check out the
Horror,
menu.
dark comedy satire, and it's
Yeah.
really fun.
Like so like if we're talking horror genres, like my preferred horror genre is I want shit that's going to fuck my brain up and cause me to go down rabbit holes of research and all sorts of stuff because it could be real. You
Yep.
know, like don't get me wrong, I enjoy the slashers. I enjoy all that stuff. But the psychological horror that's like that shit, I'm sitting there like there are certain movies that I've only been able to watch once because it's that fucked me up that badly. Where I'm just like, I don't think I can do it again. So I'll start watching the movie again and I'm like, nope. Nope.
There's only been one film like that for me, and I don't even want to.
I know which one it is.
I don't want to
too.
call it into existence.
What is it?
Uh-oh. Now you got to tell me. You can't
Cover
do
your
that.
ears.
It's Tusk.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't seen it.
Uh-oh.
It's awful. It's
I'm-
awful. I'm willing to sit through it for Scream King Justin Long.
I love
We love Justin Long.
I hate that
I
movie.
still think his best movie is Zack and Mary Make a Porno, but that's unrelated.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great movie.
Oh yeah, no, he's so fucking funny. But like for me, I'm a big like slasher and a big like creature feature person.
Yes.
But that very much ties into my special effects makeup background. Like those are the movies that I watched and I was like, I want to do that. I want to
Yep.
make that stuff. So
Like Yeah.
I like to create creepy monsters,
Of
and also
course.
I like making people look dead, and I like artfully splattering blood places.
Yeah. It's true.
It's fun.
Yeah, I'm the
Like-
same way. I was that guy that through the Halloween parties, I was the guy that went full blown makeup on Halloween, whether it's
Oh, yeah.
at a party or giving out candy, whatever the case.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I had,
and they're not fake. I asked.
they're not
Oh,
fake.
those are
Yep.
his teeth.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So okay, what was okay? So like, what took your horror virginity? Like, which one was it?
actually, the first horror movie I ever remember seeing, my mom took me to the drive-in to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think I was
That
about
is a good one. Nice.
So that's what started it, and I was hooked from there.
Like literally.
Aha.
Yeah, my grandparents raised me. So, you know, from when I was like 3 on. And so, you know, as I got a little older and then my mom took me to see that, you know, my grandparents kind of let me watch kind of what I wanted to watch to a degree. Now, when I grew up dirt poor. So, I mean, I was living with my grandmother, you know, and grandfather from like 3. He passed away when I was around like 9. So it was just me and her. But up until that point, my grandfather and I used to sit around and watch Saturday Creature Feature and stuff like
Right.
that. So I saw a lot of the old sci-fi movies, the old horror movies, you know, from the black and whites and stuff like that from the 60s and 70s and some 50s. And he was the one that exposed me to Frankenstein and you know, Dracula and The Bride and you know all those old classics. You know, and then he passed away, and I just you know, growing up, you know, growing up poor, you know, and you're bullied through elementary, you're bullied through junior high, you're bullied through high school, especially you know, in a small town, and you're the outcast. You live just outside the city limits. You know, hell, I was 17 before we had air conditioning. You know, I mean, I was probably 18 or 19 before we had a hot water heater.
Wow.
You know, so we used to boil water on a stove and pour it in the bathtub. So when you know, wearing 2 pairs of jeans a year, 1 pairs of shoes, and some t-shirts. So movies were my escape 100%. But you know, we didn't have cable TV. You know, I had some VHS tapes that, you know, my mom would buy at some time. My grandmother would buy me for movies I wanted to see, or my uncles would give me some, you know, things like that. So horror movies and comics and art was definitely my escape. So yeah, I buried myself into that stuff at a super young age, and I stayed there for a very long time. You know, I used to not be very talkative. You wouldn't really know I was in a room, you know, and then I went to work in the casino world for a long time where I was a dealer and a bartender. And so that broke me out of that shell to where I engage with people. And of course, now most time people can't get me to shut up. But yeah, horror, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the first one I remember. And then from there on, it was any and everything I could get my hands on horror, you know, even though a lot of it scared the hell out of me as a little kid, you know, and I'd still go to bed no matter how hot it was with the window open and blanket pulled up to my neck, you know, but I could not get enough of it. So what about you guys? What was your first exposure?
Ooh, I actually have slightly similar. My grandpa was always very, very, very into it. So I loved every time he brought up Frankenstein because that was his favorite, Boris Karloff. Nobody else could play Frankenstein unless it was Boris Karloff. So
I have
he used
three.
to have the videotapes, like he taped them off of TV on the VHS,
Yep.
and those were the videos we had when we would stay with him. So it would probably, you know what? Actually, earlier than that, it would have to be Legend of Sleepy Hollow, technically, was my first foray into horror because my grandpa used to tell the story to us before we went to bed.
Nice.
And, you know, as if it was his story. That and
Right.
Rip Van Winkle, he used to tell us all the time. And we thought it was the most insane thing we'd ever heard.
Nice.
And that's kind of where the first toe went in. And also
Yeah.
my parents were always very into the supernatural like movies. Like we loved Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. Our whole family would watch it.
Yep, that's a good one.
Was it Dracula 2000, if anyone remembers that
Yes,
one.
I
My
do.
mom was obsessed.
Gerard Butler's first movie.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So we kind of were very big into the ghost hunter stuff. So it started with Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and then it slightly went through its way on all of the fun paranormal, like fantasy horror.
What about you,
Nice.
Scar?
So my first horror movie ever was when my dad, on a whim, showed me the original Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr.
Nice.
After that, he showed me Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
So-
another good one.
You know, because my dad, he started me with that old school, like black and white, you know, like Universal horror, which I think was probably a good, like, kind of like safe way to start me into horror before he was like, all right, let's just fucking show you all the good stuff. Close your eyes during these scenes, if you know what I mean.
Before you answer yours,
Yeah.
I got a cool little movie trivia that is supposedly true, but sadly back then they didn't really list stuntmen's names. The
Yeah.
original Creature from the Black Lagoon, the guy who played the stuntman for that movie is the same guy who played Jason in Friday the 13th Part 6.
Wow.
Oh no, I'm sorry, not Part 6. That's CJ Graham. Which one's the final? Which one's the one that had Corey Feldman in it?
That's
Part
part
four?
4 of the final chapter.
Part 4.
Yeah, the guy that
Which
played
was
Jason
not-
in that is supposedly the guy who was the stunt man for Creature from the Black Lagoon.
That would be really freaking cool.
That's pretty fucking cool.
That's really cool. Because I do love I do have a soft spot for Creature. We'll
You do?
always have a soft spot for Creature. But then like if we want to talk about what my first like slasher horror was, a few years after that, in the time slot that Ghost Hunters International would have been on at Sci-Fi, instead they had Freddy versus Jason.
Oh my
And I was
god!
Hey Dad, can I still watch this? He's like, are you gonna tell your mother? And I was like, no, I'll be good. And he was like, fine, you can watch it. So Freddy versus Jason was my first slasher movie.
Like I said,
Oh, okay.
for me, I was about, I want to say 5 or 6, and my stepfather actually was like, these kids need some toughening up. So he forced me, my sister, and my brother to watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, followed by Halloween.
Oh no.
Nice.
And we were not allowed to look away. We were not allowed to cry. And we were not allowed to scream. And we were definitely not allowed to tell my mom. And I didn't really understand Texas at that point because 5-year-old brain. But I when I'm watching Halloween, I was like, wait, I think I like this. Hold on. So I tell him, are there more movies? And he goes, yeah, there are. There's 3 of them because there was 3 at the time.
Oh God.
Right,
And
right.
I was like, okay. And then growing up, I had this best friend named Andrew who was super into horror. He actually found out that I'd watched the Halloween movie and he goes, oh, let me show you more. I was like, well, what are you going to show me, Drew? And he showed me Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, all the zombie movies. Like I would go over to his place after school and we would just binge on all this like
Nice.
kitschy horror, corn syrup, the whole thing. And I was like, okay, fuck it. I like this shit. Let's do it. Like one of the first conventions I ever went to was Chiller, actually, back when I was 19.
Nice.
So yeah, it was no, it had to be when I was actually a little older because it was right when The Faculty came out.
Oh, okay.
So that was a big, I want to say like 2000, 2001. And if you say your age,
No, because the Faculty came out the same year I did.
That was
Okay.
Josh Hartnett's first movie too.
yes, it was.
Yeah.
And so we went there and they were actually they were talking the movie up. I actually have hidden somewhere a signed movie poster with every single one of those.
Nice.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
That's
they
actually cool.
actually signed the poster of it because this was Chiller. I mean, it was nobody. It was like in a hotel. It was like so small.
Right.
I didn't know any better, but I was like, wait, I can go to places where there are people that are like me, and that was like
Yep.
not only my first introduction into a horror convention, it was my first introduction to conventions. Period.
Want to know something?
And I've just been hooked ever since.
Want to know something funny about
That it's the same age as you.
No, one of the guys that worked on it is Kevin Williamson, who was also
Yeah.
the screenwriter for Scream.
Yep.
I met him.
Did you watch Josh's new movie, The Trap?
I saw that one.
No, I haven't.
I
seen
actually
it yet.
watched that one while I was film
It's
dumping
actually
Vermont
good.
a couple of weekends ago.
I have not had the chance to
Um,
really sit down and catch up on a lot of horror. I'm not going to deny that.
Yes,
I've only seen
She
memes
has.
about The Trap.
I like. I saw Trap. Without spoiling anything, like, so overall, like, it was good, but it just like it was just kind of like a lot of buildup, but
Yeah,
not a
it's
lot
a whole
of
lot of buildup.
That's
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan. Like,
Yep.
my opinion about M. Night Shyamalan is he's had 2 good movies.
No, he hasn't.
And then that's it. I personally do like The Sixth Sense, and then I also really like.
Okay, he had one.
I
Then the
admittedly,
Sixth Sense is good.
unpopular opinion, I loved his movie Devil with the elevator when all the people were trapped in the
Oh.
elevator.
Actually,
I actually liked that movie.
like that too.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, I
So,
like
now
Devil.
I
I like
think
the
I'll-
uniqueness of it because it's hard to make anything interesting in such a small space. So I had to give him a little credit for that. Like like I've seen pretty much all his movies. For me, the sad thing for him is he will do this really interesting, great storytelling thing until he gets and he has to put this little twist. And every
Yeah.
time he puts that little twist is where he loses me, and I go, that shit sucks.
Was
And
it Family Guy or The Simpsons that was making fun of him by going, "What a tweet"? And
yeah,
I think
probably.
Family Guy.
Because like the happening, I really, really liked the happening until it got to the twist. Oh,
Yep.
it's nature turned against us. Wait, what? I'd rather you just not said anything, you know.
Let it happen.
But he always does that. He always does this in threes kind of thing. So he'll do like
Yeah.
a okay movie, then a shit one, or he'll do okay and then a weird twist. And because The Village I thought was interesting until
They have an interesting concept. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Village
So-
was okay.
yeah, none of it is like shake the fences, in my opinion. Now, I'm sure some people it is, and that's okay. Me personally, there's a lot, a lot of better directors and movies out there. I mean, so like a lot of people bash on The Nun and they bash on the Conjuring movies,
I love
and
those movies.
and I'm sitting here going, James Wan and all those guys that's created the Conjuring universe and everything, they went back to what classic horror was.
Yes,
Like,
they
you know,
did.
That's what I like about James Wan as the director.
Exactly.
I love
I like I said, I don't mind levity if it's for a reason. Like
Right.
I can't imagine Freddie not doing one-liners and being levity. There's
Yeah.
no way. It would be weird at this point. But all the other, I don't need a one-liner or some levity haha moment every 10 minutes in a horror movie. And I don't know, and I get they're probably trying to create that up and down so they get you kind of laughing and then they hit you with a jump scare. And if you got to depend on that, I think you're losing the point of what a horror movie is, you know?
I don't disagree. Have you seen the Terrifier movies?
Yeah, yeah. And I know David. David's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
I have not been able to sit down and watch them yet, but I have heard they are amazing.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Now that's another of those unique situations where that movie was a B movie and it was made that way for the point. And it was meant to be overly gory. It was meant to be overly bloody and really hardcore. That was the point. So it stays true to that and it just keeps ramping it up after every movie. And David's an absolute sweetheart and he plays the role incredible. Is it going to be for everyone? No, not even in the horror market. It's not going to be for everyone. Because like I said, they're doing it on purpose to be over the top with the gore and the horror and the violence.
But I
And
like that.
the
I
only
like
one
that.
I haven't seen is the
I do have to
third
check
one.
it.
That's the only one I'm missing.
I haven't seen that one yet either.
What, the third?
But yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I have not seen any of them, and I kind of want to watch them in chronological order, so
Yeah,
that's why I was
same.
waiting.
Oh, but if you
Okay.
want to watch it in chronological, then you have to see the movie he made before that features Art the Clown, but it's not a Terrifier movie. It's All Hallows Eve, I think, right?
There's one right before that. So there's this
Oh,
little
there's another
short film. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. But there's a little short film he did. They did that he was in, and then All Hallows Eve, and then what? Terrifier, and then another movie, and then
Terrifier
Terrifier 2. Like
Yeah.
there's a list online somewhere, but it's
I'm gonna
just
have to look that up because
Yeah.
honestly, I think he deserves that kind of.
oh yeah, I'm so
Interest.
proud for David.
They're great,
Yeah.
honestly.
There's a it's
Yeah.
very rare that I actually will like make the time because I don't have time ever to make a binge fest, but those movies I feel deserve it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's, you know what we should do, since you haven't seen like some of the, like I've seen those. What we should try to plan a movie night one night and grab some
Yeah.
people and do like a live, like we're all live and we're like reacting to
Oh,
Art the Clown.
that'd be really fun, dude.
Because
That would
Art
be
the Clowns, like most of the
hysterical.
time I'm not into that kind of thing, but Art's one of those movies that you can do with a group of people as a reaction, and people being talkative and people having a good time doesn't really interfere with the movie. Art's one of those unique ones I think would lend to that with the Terrifiers and stuff. But yeah, just let me know whenever you guys want to do that, and we'll just like
Oh heck yeah, I'd be
Hell
down.
yeah, we're down for that.
I would
and
just
do
watch
that.
that
We'll
movie.
grab
and
a
be like,
couple people
How
in.
did they do that though?
Well, let's see. We would have to. It's like the way these guys do these live things on, or not
Twitch.
live things, but these recorded things for like Patreon and stuff. Well, they're live on Patreon, but so what we'd have to do is start the recording and start the movies at the same time. That's all they do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we could figure out a way to do that through Twitch or something like that. Like we could stream it,
Yeah.
like if we wanted to through Twitch or.
Well, I mean, even if we didn't do it live, I mean, we could definitely do a live and then
Oh,
fans point in if
for
you want
sure.
to, or we could do pre-recorded like this. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I'm down. Like I'm pretty sure that maybe we could figure out a way to do that, even like where I pre-record it and I can put it
Yeah.
up immediately on like YouTube and Twitch and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's all
Yeah,
a
and
matter
that's
of
what a
me
lot of-
working those technological muscles of mine.
Exactly.
You know, I'm good at that kind of shit.
Yes, you are.
But do you guys have any more questions for William?
Well, William, one thing I do want to know, so especially with book 9 being the last book, can you give us a little insight into why you wanted it to only be 9 books? Is there like a special meaning, or did you feel the story just wrapped there? Like, what was your thought process behind that? Because it is such a trendy book.
Thank you. I mean, it was just one of those things. I knew I had Cycle of the Blood Moon Brewing, and I knew that was going to be a much bigger project. But with Cycle Sal, the 9 books were just based on the changing of the perspectives.
Yeah.
But it won't be the end of Psycho Sal though. It'll be at the end of that storyline because Psycho Sal is going to move into something way bigger. So so a lot of people don't know the whole entire story. Everything revolves around these strings being pulled in the background and stuff like that. And you'll find out more of that as you read into the book, getting closer to number 9. You'll get exposed to more of that. But yeah, there's a whole backstory that is definitely not going to let Psycho Sal slip away. So
We love this.
How very Stephen King of you, William. I
intrigued.
love that.
I love the character, man. I've been to, in the last year I've done 3. I mean, I've done tons of Comic-Con appearances, but 3 of them that I've been to, Florida and Texas and Denver, and I've had 3 people show up cosplaying as Psycho Sal.
That's
So
awesome.
that's huge. So yeah, I definitely don't have any plans for him going anywhere. The story's just going to kind of evolve a little bit, and there's a lot of backstory that you're going to get exposed to also. Like I said, it isn't just as simple as some psychopath going on a killing spree. There's a whole bigger story behind it.
That's
The
awesome.
victims and everybody all being random is just on the surface. So think
Yeah.
a little bit more like Saw.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
I actually like the Saw movies, and I also appreciate that they don't age down their actors. They just put them in a backwards baseball cap.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I love that.
Shit.
I love that.
How do you do, fellow kids? That's the energy.
How you doing, fellow kids?
That is the energy. I saw that one clip because, like, I actually haven't seen Saw. I would like to. They're fun.
They're
good.
10 of them.
Yeah.
They do turn into more of a torture porn, for lack of a better description.
Yeah, they
But
are.
what is unique about them, though, is the way they intertwine all the characters that they are connected. That's
what I've
what's
heard.
really interesting about the whole Saw franchise. I mean, like I said, I'm not big necessarily on torture porn. Hostel is a rough one to watch.
Oh
Saw
yeah,
can-
that's one of the ones that I was only able to watch once.
Yeah, I've never seen Hostel.
Awful.
It's
Awful.
like
Yeah,
I
it's
have
rough.
I have a trigger and it's in that movie. It's like I don't have many, but on the outside I'm a paramedic. So
Yeah.
there's one thing that I even to this day doing paramedicine for 24 fucking years, I still will not go near and I make my partner do, and that's eyeballs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
there's
definitely
that
watch
one,
it.
you
Yeah.
know what scene I'm talking about in Hostel, and I'm just like, nope, bye, and like I leave.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's,
nope, bye,
it's
we're
rough.
leaving, goodbye. Like, mm-mm.
Yeah, it's definitely rough, but yeah, so but that's the thing in my opinion what makes the movies for Saul very unique is the way the storytelling's done where they intertwine all the characters. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was never a torture porn person. It just like not for like how some people kind of have like a I'm above that. It just never appealed to me. Like just
Yeah.
It's just not a thing.
yeah, it was just kind of like it's a thing. It's just I could watch that or I could watch something else, and so I chose to watch something else.
Basically.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'll watch the other stuff. Like I've watched all that just because again, being a movie nut, I've watched all types of movies. I mean,
Yeah.
romantic comedies, actions, horror. I just love movies. So I've
Yeah,
seen
Cinephile.
watch a little bit of everything that comes out just to, because you never know what you might find that could be really interesting. So I knew what Saw was, and I'd already been exposed to Hostel, and I was told, well, it's kind of like Hostel, but not as hardcore. And on the first one, I would agree with that, and the rest kind of got to where they were trying to push the limit as much as they could.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. The first one was more the psychological fuck with
Yeah,
like the
okay.
holy fuck kind of shit. And then 2 was starting to ramp it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
3, okay, now we're a little bit more. It's
Yeah.
like it kind of, forgive my graphicness, it became more of like the overstimulation of the clit so much that the clit goes numb.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
Okay.
really trying to
Yeah.
follow what was big at the time,
Yep.
which is why I enjoy the direction Saw has gone in now.
Yeah.
Is it was very like, let's follow all these horror franchises because Saw was the big thing along with Final
Yep.
Destination.
Yep.
That really
I
made
still will not drive behind a fucking
Oh, no,
horror
no.
into just a
Um,
blockbuster.
Yeah.
Not a log.
And I do have to give them a little credit.
No, not a log truck. None of those fucking trucks that got like loose shit behind them.
No.
My mom's uncle actually passed away from something like that.
Ooh, okay.
Correct.
Yeah, stopped short in front of him, straight through the fucking dashboard.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, didn't even know it hit him.
But yeah, no, like that's what I'm saying. Again, you overstimulated the clit. Now I don't want to get off my. Like, okay, are you done? Cool, get off.
I'm gonna go get a
That's
sandwich.
literally what it feels like to me after with some of the Saw movies towards the end, because like it was
I mean,
just, it was like,
they definitely beat it to death for sure. But I do got to give them a little credit when they came back to do the most recent one. They did kind of go back to that first movie type of feeling, or at least it was for me. So I do got to give them a little credit on that. It was kind of a throwback to what really got it all started, and that one was pretty enjoyable.
I
And
don't
again, that was
disagree.
more that where it wasn't it wasn't so much about the torture part. It was more about the characters and how they intertwined with one another. So that again, that the psychological part is what's good for me. So exactly.
it went back
Gotcha.
to its roots. So
Okay.
it's gonna be a little tough in the middle, but you can get through it. It's fine.
You see, here's the thing. I couldn't even make it through all the Hellraiser movies. I think I made it up to 6.
That's
Oh,
fine.
you made it farther than I did, and I was
Yeah,
a
no,
big
you see,
fan
the
of
reason
first,
I stopped after
2.
6. You see, the reason I stopped after 6 is because that was the last time Kirsty Cotton appears in the movies, and I
Yeah.
was like, "What's the fucking point? They all suck after
Yeah,
this anyway."
exactly. I agree. And everybody got on that crap for a little while. You had Jason going to space, you had Hellraiser going to space. I was like, y'all killing it.
Hellraiser went to
Oh.
space a lot sooner than a bunch of the other ones.
Leprechaun.
Leprechaun, yo,
Oh,
fuck
God.
Leprechaun in space. I hate that fucking movie. Fuck my dad for putting that movie on and then just falling asleep and leaving me to fucking watch the rest of
I
it.
feel like the only character that can be everywhere and it works is Chucky. And that's it.
Chucky.
Chucky can do
hasn't gone to space.
Chucky can do whatever Chucky wants to do, and it is still insanely enjoyable.
Agreed. The only
Chucky.
movies that I enjoyed that were horror-ish in space are Alien, and I will take
Love
no
Alien.
questions. Thank you.
Oh yeah, Aliens. Like I love the first Alien; it's groundbreaking. Especially love the second one, like everyone else.
Yeah.
The rest of them were okay and enjoyable, not terrible, but
Romulus is
I do have
Romulus
to,
is sick.
yeah.
yeah, I
Romulus
have
is
to give them that the most recent Romulus or whatever it's called. I got to give them credit. They went back to the roots of the second Aliens movie type of feel,
Yep.
the first and second one. So I got to give them credit on that one. Other than, not to, well, by now everybody's going to watch it, should have seen it, but the way they handled the last form of the alien, I didn't really like that. It was kind of a mixture of human and engineer and all that. And I don't know if you guys have seen that movie yet or not, but it's worth watching. Like they went back to that kind of scary, dark, and creepy feel.
The reason why they decided to go back to that is also because that's what originally Geiger was pushing for. Like that was
Oh, okay.
Geiger's original idea was to have eventually a human alien style hybrid. That's why they were doing those experimentations. If you ever read any of the comics or the books that actually do get associated with the Alien franchise, that was always a theme.
Oh,
So by them
that's
bringing it with the Romulus, they're finally introducing it into the actual movie part of it, where alien people like me, obviously, as I'm exposing myself, it's
I
fine.
love it.
Already knew that was like a thing, and that's why I thought it was fantastically done. I was like, oh shit, we finally got it.
okay. I'll have to go back and check
Also,
out some of the books there.
amazing.
I didn't know. It's like,
Cool.
what are y'all
But
doing?
yeah, no, that was actually something that was introduced from Geiger. Like H.R. Geiger himself was just like, no, this is where I wanted to go. So
Okay.
And if
Well,
you're a
like I
video
said,
game
I gotta
fan,
give them credit too, man.
Romulus is Isolation.
yeah.
All right, you guys got any more questions for me?
Where can we find all your fun stuff on social media, even though we've already been sharing all of it on our own social media, but we're doing
I
it again
appreciate
because
that.
this is going up on our YouTube.
Yep. You can find me. I'm mostly on Facebook, so it's at Art of William Russell. I've got my Facebook page, two Facebook groups, a public and a private. That's where I do raffles, I do giveaways and stuff like that that are for fans and members only. It's also where I do early announcements for things, sales and cover drops and things like that. You can also order anything and everything from my website, www.artofwilliamrussell.com. I'm one of the few artists that also has went through the trouble to have Afterpay, Klarna, Shop Pay, all that stuff put on there to where you can make purchases on the website and make payment plans and stuff like that instead of it knocking your pocketbook all at once. You can get copies of Psycho Sal issues 1 through 6 on there. Issue 7 will get added in a few weeks, and then be looking for the next Kickstarter for Psycho Sal. We will go live on that somewhere probably around the end of January. So
Nice.
All right.
What is your next appearance? I know you said that Akron was your last one for the year, but where are you
I
going to be in
know
2025?
I can't remember if I have any appearances in January. Usually our time frames usually start around January, February through November. Or at least it does for me. I've got a lot going on in December. I can't really do shows then. 3 of my daughter's birthdays are in December, my
Oh, wow.
birthday, then Christmas and all that. So I try to stay home, like halfway through November to halfway through January. But I think my next show is in February. What was it? I'm sorry, my memory is terrible. Let's see. My next one. So it's February. So February, I will be at MegaCon Orlando in Orlando, Florida.
Oh,
February
God, I'm jealous.
9th.
My old home.
That's a great show.
I
And then,
want to go.
oh, it's a great one. It is definitely as a fan.
Oh, I know.
Someone.
I know, but the problem with it is we go to MagFest at the end of January. And I don't know if you know about MagFest, but MagFest is Music and Game Festival. It's
okay.
in Maryland, and it's being held at the Gaylord. We've been going the past 3 years.
Oh,
It
okay.
is quite possibly one of my favorite conventions to go to.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
And it's being as they moved it this year. Usually it's mid-January, but for some reason they have it at the end of January this year. It kind of clashes because it's very hard for me to pay all that money for MAG and then immediately have the money to go down to MegaCon, which
Yeah.
is if
Well,
I
hey,
do go, I'm doing it up. Like
yeah,
fuck that. Like
it's
I'm
worth
going
doing for
alone.
sure.
So I maybe if the money fairy whispers good luck upon us, make an
Well,
appearance. But
also, with you guys having a platform, you guys doing interviews and stuff like that. Oh, and one other one I'm at in February is Texoma in Durant, Oklahoma at the end of February,
nice.
22nd. But the other thing you guys keep in mind too, a lot of times for these shows, artists, like if you get in good with artists and stuff, a lot of times there we do shows by ourselves. So we don't have a helper. Some of these booths, Comic-Con booths and stuff, they'll do the same thing. They might be working the shows where they have an extra ticket and they don't have help. So if you kind of get in good with some people, you might find those situations where these bigger shows, they might have an extra ticket or two, and you come in and you just kind of help out at their table, check on them through the day, and you can walk around and just do stuff. Most people are pretty loose with that. Pretty accommodating with that as long as we got somebody there to help. So some of these shows, like New York as an example, I was at New York by myself. So having, that means I have an extra ticket for that show. So that happens with a lot of artists because, our significant others or our friends and stuff like that, they're all working regular jobs. So they can't take off to go do shows like that. So if you ever see one of those shows and an artist that's going to be there, just touch base with them and say, hey, I see you're at so-and-so. Are you using your extra badge? Could I use it? And it allows you to get in when we get in for these shows. So.
That's actually a good idea. Like, because we do try to get press for a lot of these shows. We are granted press.
Yeah.
We are granted press quite often, but sometimes for the bigger shows, we being as we are still kind of small, we have a decent following, but not like, oh my God, where they're like, we have to have you. We're working on it. But yeah, no, that's actually a good idea for starving artists like ourselves.
Because it gets us free publicity. You'll do an interview, and I think that's a fair trade-off. Sure, I'll give somebody my extra ticket, and they stop by my table occasionally to see if I need to go grab food or go to the restroom or something like that. And then the fact you guys have a podcast, you'll spend 15 minutes to do an interview. Hell yeah, there's a lot of artists that would probably trade their extra tickets for that. So just food for thought.
No, that's definitely something to think about. But honestly, also again, thank you for being so patient with us.
Thank you.
With all the stupid technical bullshit that we've been dealing with over the past couple of weeks. But
no problem at all.
You're always a pleasure to talk to. Honestly, you're like super effing cool. Like, and I'm just really, really happy that we had this time with you. And we're definitely going to be bothering you more. Like that idea with watching the Terrifier movies, like in real time, we're definitely fucking doing that.
Yeah, I think that could be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's something that's super important. I mean, again, for me personally, I know I go live a lot when I'm driving and traveling, talking to fans, and you guys post a lot, so you're interacting with fans that way too, and it's so damn. No, that's a good thing. I post tons. Like I piss people off sometimes so much I post, and I just tell them, well, if you don't like it, bounce. But yeah, exactly.
Bro. Yeah.
Exactly. This is my business. I'm here to promote. But thank you guys so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for the love you guys are showing indie creators, having us on your platform, interviewing us at shows. You guys are absolute sweethearts. Thank you so much for giving the energy that you guys give to us. Because to be fair, a lot of people kind of overlook indie, and indie's massive. It's a massive.
I never
platform.
Understood that.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It's like, here's the thing. Everything big started independent. So
that's right. It sure the hell did. Every big artist, every big creator, every big podcaster, everybody started out at the bottom. So give everybody love, share your platforms. There's nothing wrong with it. There's enough room for everybody. So
it's true.
It's funny because my dad's comic book collection, I would say, is probably 50% like big name, 50% indie. And I'm like, wow, you actually like went out there and, like read these comics and like bought up these comics. Yeah. Like, it's just really cool seeing like where like, the fact like, hey, supporting indie wasn't just like a me thing.
Nope.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we go out of our ways to, meet the artists, talk to them, like treat them because you're still people.
Yeah.
Wild concept,
Like
right?
wild concept, you're still a human being and you're doing something that you love and that you're passionate about. Why shouldn't other people experience that passion? And that's
Yeah.
what we're trying to do. And we're gonna keep doing it and we're gonna keep sharing you. And anybody you want to throw our way, please come to us. We
I
love
sure will.
all creators.
I've got some co-creators that I think would do wonderful on your show that have a good following also. So it'll be helpful both ways. I'll definitely get you guys in touch with Lori Calcaterra. I'll definitely get you in touch with Chris Hayes and some of these other writers and creators. Because like I said, I don't think a lot of people give writers in the indie world enough
We
attention
do.
either. So yes.
Oh
So
yeah, no. If you no, we do every September we do something called the Big Apple Bookworms where every day one of us shares a different book, comic book,
nice.
memoir, anything like that. And honestly, we try to focus on not the big stuff, honestly. We focus on the indie creators. I've had several interviews with several artists that I happen to meet, writers at Fan Expo Boston. Last year, I made friends with Milena Braga, who's a fantastic author. Who else did I meet, guys? Help my brain.
Which
Catherine Marie, who does these amazing books. Like I'm obsessed with her books. And then who? Oh my god, my brain's not doing the braining. But
I'm gonna be like, don't ask me about Rhode
Trust me,
Island
I
because
know
I know
that
you met
feeling.
authors, but I was blitzed out of my
oh
mind.
yeah, Rhode Island. We met tons of indie people that I like. I've been trying to get on the show. It's just our schedules don't sync up. But like I literally spend 90% of my time in Artist Alley. Like that's where
Nice.
I go when I go to
Yeah, I do the
conventions.
same thing.
Yeah, like because I want to meet you. I want to talk to you. I want to know what makes you tick and why you give me such wonderful things. Like that's what I want to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, dude, thank you so much for coming on here. We're gonna be posting this absolutely everywhere. So if you're not following William on his Instagram and all his social media and you're following us, you should do the following of the
Yeah.
following. Follow everybody on this podcast because we're awesome and he's awesome and he took all the time to talk to us.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's all she wrote, folks. So
I know. I appreciate it. It made me stop work, and so it gave me a chance to walk away from some stuff in there and just kind of rest my hand a little bit. So that works out great. So I gotta make sure this comic stuff works. I'm getting too old for my Magic Mike days. So, but
Mood.
yeah, just it's
Mood.
over. It's under the bridge. But no, thank you guys so much, and I'll definitely send you guys some names of some people to chat with that are wonderful personalities, and they have that creator mindset also. And make sure also you guys tag me on your promo post for your, not for this, but for your actual page on Facebook, so I can share that out to my followers and stuff too.
Oh
Like
yeah.
whatever your little promo thing is that tells people who you are, and then I'll make sure to share that out to all my platforms, and I'll get a bunch of people over there to get you followed.
Definitely
Thank you.
appreciate that. Our Phoenix Gate Facebook page could definitely use some more lovin'. So
I'll send you some here in just a little bit. So
awesome. So
Thank you.
I'm going to end the podcast. Everybody, again, thank you so very, very much. And guys, follow us all on social media and we'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
bye, guys.